I walked into my sister's backyard with a peach pie still warm from the oven. The smell of charcoal and laughter hit me first. Then I heard Lauren's voice sharp and clear through the fence. "I hope she got into an accident and won't come." More laughter followed my mother's, my father's, even the kids. For a second, the world stopped. I stood there, pie trembling in my hands, heat burning my palms. Then I smiled, pushed the gate open, and walked in like nothing had happened. No one looked at me. No one spoke. That day, I stopped being their joke. My name is Evelyn Ward, and for most of my life, I thought I understood family. I was the older sister, the reliable one, the person everyone called when the car broke down, when tuition was due, when mom's roof started leaking again. I used to think being needed was the same as being loved. I live alone now in a quiet part of Seattle in a house I bought outright years ago. I worked in finance for 2 decades, saved every cent, and retired early. I don't have children, but I've poured myself into helping the people I did have: my parents, my younger sister Lauren, her husband Ethan, and their 2 kids. 3 years ago, when Lauren and Ethan couldn't afford a down payment for their dream home, I wrote a check for $40,000 without hesitation. A year later, when their daughter Maya needed braces, I covered the bill. When their son's laptop broke before school started, I replaced it the next day. I didn't see it as charity, I saw it as family. That's what family does, right? At least that's what I kept telling myself. My parents always said Lauren needed more help. She was fragile, emotional, not as lucky as I was. Every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, they'd tell me how proud they were that I was so strong, so independent. It sounded like a compliment, but it was really a reason to give her everything and expect nothing from her, a reason to take from me without asking. Still, I went along with it. I told myself the laughter, the inside jokes I wasn't part of were harmless, that Lauren's jabs about me playing rich aunt were just her way of teasing. I wanted to belong, even if it meant paying the price. That Saturday afternoon, I drove across town for her barbecue like I always did. It was late summer, the air heavy, the sky dimming slow. I baked my mother's peach pie recipe, the same one that used to bring us all together when things were simpler. I remember humming in the kitchen, trying to believe we were still that family. When I pulled up to her house, the one I'd helped her buy, kids' laughter echoed over the fence. I told myself the weird distance lately was just in my head. I balanced the pie, walked up the narrow path, and reached for the gate handle. That's when I heard my name. That's when everything I believed about family cracked. Through the fence, I could hear every word. Lauren's voice was bright, careless, like she was talking about the weather. "I hope she got into an accident and won't come," she said, laughing between syllables. For a moment, I thought I'd misheard. Then came another voice, my mother's soft giggle, my father's deep chuckle, even Maya's high-pitched laugh. It wasn't one person being cruel. It was all of them. I froze. My fingers tightened around the glass dish until it creaked. I wanted to walk away, drive home, vanish, but my body refused to move. My whole life, I'd taught myself to stay calm, to make things easier for everyone else. So I took a breath, pushed the gate open, and stepped inside. The smell of grilled meat hit me. The sun flashed off the foil trays. Lauren stood by the grill tongs in one hand, beer in the other. When she saw me, her smile faltered like she'd seen a ghost. "Oh, you made it," she said. "I did," I replied. My voice sounded distant, someone else's. I set the pie on the picnic table, the one covered in a floral cloth I'd given her last Christmas. No one said thank you. No one even looked at me. I found a folding chair at the end of the table, far from the laughter, and sat down. The conversation carried on as if I didn't exist, stories about work kids, neighbors. My parents nodded, smiled, clinked glasses. I watched them and wondered when I'd stopped being family and started being background noise. At one point, Maya ran past me chasing her brother. Her elbow brushed my arm. She didn't apologize. I glanced at Lauren. She looked right through me. They ate everything. The ribs, the salads, the pie. Not one word about how it tasted. Not one thank you. For 3 hours I stayed. I smiled when they smiled, laughed softly when they laughed. It was easier to pretend than to feel the weight of it all. But every laugh stabbed deeper. When the plates were empty, I gathered them quietly, wiped the tables, tossed the trash. Lauren never looked up. When the last bag hit the bin, I slipped out without saying goodbye. Driving home, I could still hear them laughing. That one sentence, "I hope she got into an accident," kept looping in my head, the rhythm matching my heartbeat. I'd helped buy that house, paid for those smiles, funded the very backyard where they wished I'd never show up. I parked, turned off the engine, and sat in silence until the headlights dimmed. Then I whispered to the empty car, "They wanted an accident, they'll get one." The next morning, the house was quiet except for the coffee maker humming on the counter. I sat at the kitchen table staring at the rising steam, feeling nothing, no anger, no sadness, just a strange stillness, the kind that comes after you've stopped expecting an apology. On the table lay a folder stuffed with documents I hadn't touched in years, insurance policies, bank statements, a copy of my will. I'd been meaning to update them, but life got in the way, family got in the way. Now, I opened it slowly, page by page. Lauren's name was everywhere. Power of attorney, joint access to my main account, beneficiary on my life insurance. Even my parents were listed as secondary heirs. The people who laughed when they thought I wasn't coming, the same people who joked about me dying, were the ones who would gain the most if I did. For a long minute, I couldn't breathe. Then, something inside me clicked into place. A clean, sharp line, the kind that divides before and after. I picked up my phone and called David Cross, my old attorney. "David, it's Evelyn. I need to change everything today." His tone shifted immediately. "Come in at 10. Bring all your documents." I spent the next 2 hours sorting through papers. Every signature, every name felt like evidence in a trial I hadn't realized I was fighting. When I left the house, I didn't even finish my coffee. David's office smelled like leather and disinfectant. He greeted me with the same calm he'd had during my retirement years ago. "What happened?" he asked. "Family," I said simply. "And that's enough." We sat together as he read through each page. "You want to revoke Lauren's power of attorney, yes. And remove her as your primary heir, absolutely." He nodded, sliding new forms across the desk. "Let's make this official." By noon, my entire financial life had been rewritten. No more shared accounts, no more access. No one could touch a cent without my say. On the drive home, the weight in my chest started to lift. Not all at once, but enough. I pulled into my driveway, rolled down the window, and took the first deep breath I'd had in months. Then, I opened my phone again, this time to call Susan, the bank manager. "I need to remove an authorized user," I said. "Name, Lauren Ward." Silence on the other end. "Then, we'll take care of it immediately." When I hung up, I smiled for the first time since that barbecue. They wanted me gone. Well, now they were. By the time the sun went down, everything was set in motion. Every account reset, every password changed. Every door that once led into my life now locked, literally and legally. The next day, I called a locksmith. He showed up in a blue van and asked moving out or locking someone out. "Both," I said. He laughed softly, not realizing how close he was to the truth. By mid-afternoon, the front and back doors had new locks. When he handed me the fresh keys, I held them like they were proof of freedom. That evening, my phone rang. "Lauren." I let it buzz until it went silent. Then it rang again. Mom, then Dad, then Lauren again. Finally, I picked up. "What the hell is going on?" she snapped. "My card got declined at Target. I couldn't even pay for school supplies. You might want to check whose money you were spending," I said calmly. "Excuse me, I heard what you said, Lauren. At the barbecue." A beat of silence. Then her voice cracked into false laughter. "Oh, come on, you're not serious." "It was a joke, I heard everyone laugh," I said. "Including our parents. You're being dramatic." "No," I said, lowering my voice. "I'm being done." And I hung up. The next 30 minutes felt like a storm of missed calls. Mom, Dad, Ethan, each voicemail blurrier than the last, lectures about forgiveness, family, and not taking things so personally. I didn't answer any of them. That night, I opened a bottle of wine and pulled out the envelope David had given me, my new will, notarized and final. Lauren's name was nowhere on it. Neither was anyone else's. The money, the house, the investments all set to go into a charitable trust called Hope Haven Foundation. When the wine was gone, I slept better than I had in years. The next morning, a car pulled up outside my house. I peeked through the curtains, Lauren and Ethan. They came straight to the door, pounding like cops. "Evelyn, open this damn door. We need to talk." I stayed quiet. Lauren kept shouting, "You changed the locks? Are you insane?" Then I heard the metallic scrape of her old key twisting against the new lock. Click. Nothing. She tried again. I smiled. After a few more minutes of shouting, I turned on the TV and raised the volume until their voices disappeared beneath a cooking show. The sound of sizzling pans covered their rage perfectly. Eventually, they gave up and left. But I wasn't done yet. Later that week, I met with the real estate agent, Tom. "I'm ready to sell," I told him, "and I don't want my family to know until it's done." He nodded. Discretion, I get it. Within 2 weeks, I'd sold my house and moved into a modest apartment near Green Lake. The walls were blank, the air smelled of fresh paint, and for the first time in my life, it felt like mine. A few days after moving, my phone rang again, this time from an unknown number. "Hello, Aunt Evelyn." It was Maya. Her voice was small, nervous. "Mom and Dad said you've gone crazy," she said. "What happened?" I hesitated, then asked, "Do you remember what your mom said at the barbecue pause? When she said she hoped you got into an accident?" "Yes." She was quiet for a long moment. "I laughed too," she whispered. "I didn't mean to. I just laughed because everyone else did." I closed my eyes. "You were 14. You didn't know better. I'm sorry, Aunt Evelyn. Really sorry." I believed her. There was something in her voice that none of the others had. Shame. Humanity. "Come by tomorrow," I said softly. "We'll talk." The next afternoon she came. Her hands shook as she apologized again. I listened. I didn't forgive her, not yet, but I told her I loved her anyway. When she left, I realized she was the only one worth keeping. Weeks passed. Then months. My phone stopped ringing, but one afternoon I made a call of my own to Hope Haven Foundation. "I'd like to make a donation," I told them. $100,000. The woman on the line gasped. "Are you sure?" "Yes," I said. I was saving it for someone's birthday. "But I've changed my mind." That night, I sat by my window watching the city lights shimmer on the water. They had wanted me gone. They just never expected I'd take their access to me with me. Their laughter had been the accident, and I was the survivor who walked away from the wreck. 6 months passed before I heard another word from them. By then, I had a new life, smaller, quieter, peaceful in ways I hadn't known existed. My apartment near Green Lake was bright in the mornings, the kind of light that feels like forgiveness. I'd joined a yoga class, volunteered twice a week at Hope Haven, and spent my weekends painting or walking along the water. I didn't look over my shoulder anymore. Then one afternoon, as I was finishing a volunteer shift, my phone buzzed with a message from Maya. "Mom had to pick up another job. Dad's working nights. Things are really hard." I stared at the screen, unsure what to feel. Pity, justice. Nothing fit exactly. Maybe it was just peace. I texted back, "I'm sorry to hear that, sweetheart. I hope they figure things out." When we met for coffee a week later, Maya looked tired but calmer. She told me about school college applications, her new part-time job. I handed her an envelope. "What's this?" she asked. "Something to help you start fresh," I said. Inside was a check for $5,000. Her eyes filled with tears. "Aunt Evelyn, I don't know what to say." "Say you'll use it for something that belongs only to you," I told her. "Not your parents, not anyone else." She nodded. "I will." After she left, I sat by the window of the cafe, watching her cross the street. For the first time, I didn't feel like someone who'd lost a family. I felt like someone who'd finally found herself. Later that night, another email arrived, this time from my parents. It was long and cold. They wrote that I had disgraced the family, that they were ashamed of how cruel I'd become. I didn't finish reading it. I simply hit delete. Outside, the city was quiet. The lights reflected off the lake like 1,000 tiny promises I'd made to myself and finally kept. They wanted an accident. They got one. Not with metal or blood, but with silence and paperwork. And me, I was still standing. It's been 3 years since that day in my sister's backyard. Sometimes when I walk by the lake at sunset, I still think about the sound of their laughter, that sharp, careless noise that used to cut through me. It doesn't hurt anymore. It just reminds me how far I've come. I used to believe family was something you had to protect, no matter what. But the truth is, some families don't need protecting. They need distance. I built my peace from silence, from choosing not to answer, not to explain. And in that quiet, I finally heard my own voice again. Now when people at the foundation ask why I give so much, I just smile. Because I know what it's like to help the wrong people and how freeing it feels to finally help the right ones. If you've ever had to walk away from people who laughed at your pain, know this: you're not weak, you're healing. Sometimes the strongest revenge is just living better without them. If this story touched something in you, share your thoughts below. And if you've ever had to draw that line with the people closest to you, tell me how it changed you. You're not alone.